We're back with Sean's Non-Stock Customs Part 2. Bruce and Sean take a good look at Bruce's new hardtail kit for the XS 650 he's building. Bruce explains his decision to go with an SNS Customs hardtail. Sean reviews the features of his kit and how to install it. If you're thinking about a hardtail kit for a Yamaha XS 650 or a Sportster you'll want to listen to, or watch this episode before making a decision. And with the value of the Canadian dollar against the American buck, you folks in the US can get exceptional value. Sean isn't just about hardtail kits. SNS Customs builds Springer front ends, Softail Sportster frames, complete frames, fenders, oil tanks, and other great parts. Do you know of another great Canadian manufacturer you'd like to see featured on Speed and Color? Leave us a comment with the manufacturer's information so we can reach out to them. Hey, why not hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, give us a thumbs up, and show us some love in the comments. We hope you enjoy the show.
I want to know more about your business, and so do all the viewers and listeners. So, you know, I've looked at your stuff, and like you mentioned, this is one of your frames. Sean, the engineering, the design is just unbelievable. I love guys like you that just seem to have this natural ability to envision and to get it down on paper or whatever your process is. So, you know, part of the reason that I selected your hardtail kit, and we'll talk more about that, is the quality that I saw on social media and in the pictures that Sean sent me. And I'm just super impressed with the quality, the design, and everything. So tell us, what all are you making? What are you doing for the motorcycle world? And I know you have other work that helps to pay the bills too.
Oh yes, because we live in the Maritimes, right? So
yeah, we live in Canada.
Yeah, we're have-not province here.
Yeah.
So you got to have a little bit of ingenuity, and you got to have a couple of side hustles, you know. So not every day in here is motorcycles. Like, I'm fortunate enough, I do welding jobs for Irving Oil Limited, which is a big oil company in Canada, big on the East Coast. I do some welding and repairs for those guys. There's a couple of local universities that we do work for. So I will weld up like aluminum ROV cages for the marine departments to send their ROVs down in the ocean. Quite a few cool little, I've got a good little roster of customers that keep coming back. And the bike stuff, like I said, is based on the internet and stuff like that. So my phone will ping and you'll get an order, and nothing is like built or nothing is stocked. So every time an order comes in, it gets made like right then and there. You know, maybe there's a couple of little pieces stocked and stuff like that. But back in 2010, I opened up SNS Customs, immediately incorporated the company, talked to my insurance, which was a big hurdle, and telling them, look, I build motorcycles, I build pieces for bikes and everything, and they're kind of like really reluctant because they're insurance companies, right? And that's basically what they're like. They worry about stuff, and you know, and they should too, right? But you want to make sure that everything is built a certain way. So I incorporated, found a place for insurance, and they've been good to us over the past, it's 15 years now since SNS opened.
Right.
And you know, and just being upfront with them. And then I got into right away, I was making handlebars. That's because back then there wasn't a whole lot, like just over the past 15 years, right? Like, you know yourself, it's kind of exploded, like the market. Like you could go to Instagram and find easily 100 people that make handlebars, like even in the US and Canada and stuff like that. And I'm happy to see more stuff is being made in Canada too, like chopper parts and stuff like that. There's a younger generation that's coming up behind me that I got to meet at Roll the Bones in Montreal, and it's in good hands. Like, they're good kids and they're learning and stuff like that. So I started off building handlebars, then I got into oil tanks, And then I started doing gas tanks and stuff like that. Then I started getting into metal shaping because I wanted to start shaping my own gas tanks and stuff. Got heavily involved, like zoned out on that for like 5 years, like just shaping metal and gas tanks, oil tanks, fenders, learning that. And I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert, but I can shape and manipulate metal and form it into the shape that I want because I know what to do now for, there's only a couple of things you can do: cut, shrink, stretch, and bend. And once you know what to do to obtain that shape, then you can start envisioning the bike a different way because now you're in control. You don't have to look in a catalog for a fender. You don't have to look in a catalog for a gas tank. You don't have, so it really amplifies the creativity of the person once they get to that point in life, and it just all kind of clicks together. So I kind of buried myself. I built a lot of metal shaping tools, and I'll show you them later. So I got into that, and then I started doing a little bit of metal shaping for people, posted pictures, and I started getting calls from like the West Coast, like BC, and there was a guy, he's like, I have this old car, I need tubs made, or like custom tubs and I'm like, yeah, I could probably do those, and give them a quote, and next thing you know, you're shipping these parts. Like I really got to say I'm blessed, like, because a lot of people, not invested in me, but believed in me, which is a big thing, right? Skill set, that's one thing. Yes, I have a skill set. It's constantly growing and stuff like that, but people believed in you, and that's a big thing on its own. So I kind of got engulfed in that for a few years, and then I got into I started making hardtails for Sportsters and built a fixture, and this was, now you can go, like I said, you can go on the internet and there's probably 12 to 50 people making Sportster hardtails now. Right. So started doing that, then got into front ends, eventually got into chassis design and stuff like that. And I won't mention who it is, but a very big motorcycle company just contacted me, it was last year, to see if I would fly out to California in the States and see if I had any input on frame and chassis design, because he was so impressed with, like, I was just like, this has got to be a joke. This is a joke. And I texted the guy, he's like, no joke. And I'm just like, nice. I'm floored. So beautiful things like that happen for me all the time, and I don't know, you don't know how to think of it, because we're so, up in Canada, we're so disconnected from not disconnected, that's a bad word, but we're so far away from, all the really cool shows and the big chopper scenes and stuff like that. And and that sounds cliche, I know, chopper scene and all that stuff, but just the chopper culture and all that, it's not as abundant up here. So when stuff like that happens to us, it should be celebrated, and should be shared for everybody, for sure. Like me, you, standing here today, and like all that cool stuff. But yeah, it's amazing, some of the stuff I built for people and some of the people who have contacted me. It's just absolutely insane. And you're thinking to yourself, why? So that's the Canadian way to think, because we're not as, why not think about me? You know what I mean? Right. Why not think what I can do with it? Don't ever sell yourself short. God's given each and every one of us a talent, and it's up to us to kind of, flourish in the moment, and develop it and work on it. Like this stuff here is a love for me. And if I didn't have any social media or any people buying my stuff, guess what? I'm still doing this. Right. And don't think I'm some big, I'm not a big rich I don't make barely any money doing this and the parts and stuff like that. Like I'm not selling, 20 hardtail kits a month. Like I'm not selling, that's smoke and mirrors. And sometimes people can get lost in the social media of all that and how it's kind of portrayed. Like I just get by. Like if an order comes in, I'm happy that it came in, but this does not put food on my table. What puts food on my table is the truck in the driveway and the other contracts that I have in the shop for fabricating. Like motorcycle parts, it just doesn't pay the bills. That, like you've heard that probably from everybody that has a shop. Now, unless you're a full-blown, like big, huge manufacturer, like selling, pumping out stuff, but then you lose the little bit of soul, not your soul, but you lose a little bit of the handmade. Like I still like handmade everything. Yeah. Even though it's automated on a little level in here for my parts, just to keep up with my parts. So if I was reproducing this, it fits the same. Okay, he gets it, it fits the same. And the thing I like about what I do in here is I test fit everything and, and tweak as we need to go, like, on your CAD and stuff like that. So now I build like hardtails frames, gas tanks, oil tanks. I even build Milwaukee 8 parts. I build not crash bars, but highway pegs. Okay. Because I bought an M8 and I build sissy bars and stuff like that. But yeah, just so people don't get confused. Like it's not a huge, for me here where I am, it's not a huge industry, but that doesn't mean just to give up. Like never give up, because I would even if I was broke, I would still be fabricating, and it would still be motorcycles because they're so near and dear and close to me. It's an extension of your personality. How cool is that? You can paint a picture and put Bruce on it, and that's a part of you. You painted that. This is the same stuff, except it's different medium. Like every aspect of this, not to get all mushy, but every aspect of this is an art. Like there's guys that are amazing engine builders.
Absolutely.
Thousands of an inch. Yeah. That is a true art. Yeah. I don't want to do that. Have I built engines? Yes, I've done it. I'll do it for me, and there's guys that'll just, it amazes me. One guy that comes to mind, and is okay if I mention him on here, is Stu McAndrew. Yeah. Do you know him from Ontario? I don't. Jason Parker, the guy, he's from Ontario too. Those guys are amazing mechanics. Like if you want this old stuff.
And where are they at?
I think Jason Parker is in Ontario, and Stu McAndrew is in Ontario too, but I don't know whereabouts they are. But they're like, you just watch their feed and stuff like that. Like you can just scroll for hours and be like,
because I've got their name now on the video here, so I'll check them out when I edit.
And then the tolerances for building tins and your brakes and everything. It's a reflection of who we are. Not to sound like a
Yeah, and what you're saying rings true for me. Like I understand that my Sportster, I put a 1275 kit in, Hammer Performance.
Very good
kit. Great kit. Follow the instructions. It's all over their website. You know what? Just follow the instructions. You can't go wrong. That said, man, oh man, when I fired that thing up, and my gal Karen, who I think most of you know, Karen came out to the garage, and Karen finally gets it. She understands that in my head, I know everything that's going on inside that motor, and that whole dance is art to me, and I know what's happening in there. And it amazes me and it satisfies me that I did that. right?
And you were probably grinning ear to ear when you started it up.
Yeah.
See, that's that's like the rad stuff about this is your buddies and stuff like that. Like my circle is very small. I have 2 friends. Like it's not a big, like I have 2 people that I can count on. You know, my wife is one of them. The other is a buddy of mine. And like when you're here and you're starting it up for the first time, sometimes it can be very frustrating. Sometimes it goes off without a hitch.
Yeah.
But that frustrating one will always learn you. You're going to learn, okay, well, what did we do? You know, and you're trying to figure out. It's a process of elimination, and you know the bike so well. Like you said, you put the kit in the bike, right? So you know you're seeing the push rods. You know there's exhaust and intake push rods, and I think they're even painted like different colors and stuff like that. And you did a quad cam, which is a little like a little more putting the cams in, making sure that everything is you know lined up and all the dots. And when you do it, it's very, very, very satisfying. That's the only. And then the next best thing is you get to ride it. You know what I mean? Like that's the great thing about it. So that kind of explains a little bit about what I build and stuff.
And you know, on the riding note, that's the other thing. If you get into this and you know what it's like, you stop at a stoplight and the guy in the truck beside you puts the window down and tells you how cool that is, right?
Exactly.
That's a pretty nice feeling. Yeah.
We went to Montreal. My buddy, we brought his shovel head and I brought my pan head. And we were driving around downtown. We were trying to find where Roll the Bones was like the night before. And we were ripping through town. Every stop sign we stopped at, like people, we're getting the thumbs up and stuff like that. It's cool. You know, a lot of people wish they could do it, you know. And
well, we just had an experience. Karen and I came down for some reason. I did an episode with Jeff at Perth County Moto in Stratford.
Oh yeah, he got a nice little. They just moved into a new shop, didn't they?
Yes, really.
I follow
he and Lynn's great people.
Yeah,
nice shop.
Yeah,
really, really good. Anyway, while I was there, I picked up a gas tank for this Yamaha that I'm working on. So when we got to Karen's sister's place, took the luggage in the house. And Karen said, I'll take this upstairs. And I said, well, why would you take that suitcase upstairs? The only thing in there is a gas tank.
Yeah.
Why would you take that upstairs? And her sister, who totally does not get me or what I do, says, there's a gas tank in your suitcase? And I said, well, yeah, of course. Where else was I going to put it, right? So she kind of gave me a weird look, and we did our thing, had dinner. We get up the next morning, we're having breakfast.
Yeah.
And right out of the blue, she looks at me and says, is there really a gas tank in your suitcase?
That's hilarious.
So, when people don't get it,
that's right.
They really don't get it. But when they do get it, it's really good.
I find like a lot of we'll do local shows, and I'll invite a friend that's never partaken or knows anything about it. There's a big show here in the summertime, Labor Day long weekend, and it's called Wharf Rat Rally.
Yes, I need to come down for that.
Yeah, it's a good time. They have like the Globe of Death. Do you ever see those guys? Amazing.
Absolutely.
I can sit there for like literally all day. And I got to go into the cage. They showed me and we got pictures of my bike with the whole family. I got it. Amazing family. Really, really amazing family. Their father started it. Check out the history of it. It's pretty cool.
So whose globe was that?
It was the Erie Globe of Death, the original guys. Okay. Yeah, and really nice. And he was showing me the cage, and there was a guy up top welding it, because you got to keep up the maintenance and stuff like that. Yeah. You're riding motorcycles in a sphere, right?
Right.
So I mean, the G-force, just the force on the grill and stuff itself, but it's pretty amazing. So I got to meet them, which was kind of cool. What were we talking about before, though? Before I said that, we were talking about something about. I wanted to touch up on it, but I forget now what it was.
We're just talking about people getting at the art.
Oh, yeah.
What we do.
Yeah. Okay, I lost it. I forgot.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Do you have anything else you want to tell us about the business and stuff?
Just that,
I'll put Instagram and stuff on
yeah.
the video.
Okay.
So that everybody can see that.
Yeah.
Do you have? Yeah, you've got an online store.
Website. Yeah.
Is there much there
Yeah,
for parts? I'm trying to remember. Do you have most of your stuff on there?
Yeah, most of it's there. Like we sell right now. So like most of my stuff at the shop is not geared up for big twin. Like my heart is with Sportsters. Like that's what I started building years ago. And I mean, no one can convince me that it's a better powertrain than you know what I mean, than anything. They just work good. They're indestructible, especially the Evolution Sportsters. So most of my product is geared up to Sportster and like Yamaha, like people building choppers, like little XS 650s and stuff like that. Like we do motor brackets and stuff for all that. But you know, I got to kick myself in the arse because I got to get all that up there. So I just recently met a guy. He contacted me, and he's a younger guy, so he knows how all this works, like the YouTube and everything.
Right.
And he said, "Hey, can you recommend a welder or something?" I don't know what it was. And anyways, it turned into, or he was calling about a frame. And then he was asked, he inherited some tools from his grandpa. And he wants to get into this, and he was kind of asking welding questions and stuff and what kind of unit to get. And I said, well, if you want to come over, I'll cut up, 10 or 15 pieces, and we'll do lap joint, butt joint, whatever, and you can TIG weld that and get a feel for it. Because I put on little courses in here with like 1 or 2 people on a Saturday from like 8 to 1. And it was a couple of veteran guys came, and they really appreciated it. One guy really took to it. Like he was just like, I was like, holy crap, like. It's an older guy too. Like he was, he almost 70, I think. Like, and he was, he was into motorcycles and stuff, and he was always on the mechanic side. So, anyways, that's. I forget again what we were talking about before.
You were talking, your welding classes that you put on that
what
young
were we
guy.
Talking about before? Oh yeah, so the young guy, he got a hold of me, and I said we could do that course. And then he said, well, I'm good with YouTube and stuff like that, so we might trade a little bit. I think he's got like a huge, like massive YouTube following. Like he gets paid for, when you start getting money for it and stuff like that. Like he's achieved that. And I said, yeah. I said, if you think, I said, I'm all ears when it comes to social media, because like,
you might have to connect me with them too.
I will. Yeah. But that's the thing, like in SNS, like I'm doing the social media, I'm doing that, I'm doing the bills, so it's a very family orientated thing. My wife will do the books, and she'll get them all prepped and ready for the accountant and all that stuff. I do this stuff, and she does like a lot of the billing and stuff like that. So a lot of people don't know, like they just see, the pictures and everything, and they kind of don't understand what's really involved. So when people say, hey man, you need to grow your YouTube channel, it's very hard, because I would have to be out here for literally hours, like setting up.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, and my hat's off to people like yourself that do it and invest in it.
Thank you.
It's because I really wouldn't. Not that I wouldn't have the patience, but I wouldn't know where to start. So if I met this guy and he's willing to help, that's just a feather in the hat, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, because I'm not good with that stuff. Computers, CAD, drawing, anything technical, I love it, read it. But anything that is eating up my time, and it's not, it's not.
And that's what you should do. Stay with what you're good at. Exactly. Let somebody else do the other stuff.
Like they say, there's different trades. Plumbers plumb, electricians do electrical, and there's welders that let the. So if you're not good at one aspect of it, get some help. That's what the community's for and stuff like that. And there's a lot of good online information out there about how to grow that stuff too. But like I said, I'm just not. I just don't have the time.
You could spend the whole day at the computer learning, trust me.
I know.
And I have to, same thing. I have to push myself away from it and
Yeah.
say, no, enough. I need to go work on the motorcycle
Yeah,
because that's what I really love.
Yeah, that's what the
this
whole
I do, but
Yeah,
that's not
yeah.
my passion. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Real good. Let's talk about the Yamaha. We're going to turn
Yep.
cameras around and stuff here, and we're going to look at this XS 650 stuff, and we'll talk a bit about that.
No, you're good.
Okay, we got cameras turned around here. We're actually a little close for space, a little tight for space, but that's the way Sean likes it, so it works. I wanted to talk a little bit about this just quickly and how I got here. So with this hardtail for the XS 650, I did look at a lot of hardtails. Originally, I looked at one. It is probably the least expensive option in the US. And I looked at that one and I thought, okay, well, yeah, hardtail, that'll work, that'll do the trick. Let's go. And then I thought, well, you know what? They've got other stuff. They've got gas tanks and they've got all kinds of stuff there. And I thought, well, you know, I'm gonna need all that stuff. Maybe I'll just order it all, go down to Vegas to the timeshare, have it shipped to Vegas, which would mean no shipping in the US because they pick up the shipping in the continental US. And we could throw it in the suitcase, bring it back with us. It'd all work out really well. All we'd have to pay is the crazy exchange on the dollar, which we could talk.
Cents now.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah.
You're paying like 40-cent conversion. But anyway, so I looked at this and I thought, well, I'm going to buy all this stuff. I'd like to get some information. And when I say this, I did not approach this company looking for promotional product or a freebie or a handout or anything like that. I just thought it would be nice to involve them in the show and get information about their product, stuff like that. Let's just say I never got an answer, not even a response. And I can take no. I'm a sales guy. I can handle being told no. I thrive on it. But not even an acknowledgement that I had sent a communication. So I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to look a little bit more. And then I remembered Sean's social media and that I had seen it and I was impressed with the stuff. And I thought, wow, he's a Canadian guy and then I don't have to pay exchange and whatever. So I reached out and I said, Sean, do you make a hardtail for an XS 650? And he said yes. And then he went the one step further and provided me with a bunch of information about the features of his kit that I'm going to let him talk about. But he provided that information to me and very responded quickly and it was really good. So I thought, well, this is cool. He's responding to me. And I thought, okay, I'm going to reach out. And I said, if I were to come down and pick the stuff up to bring it home, would you do a podcast or YouTube video episode with me? And Sean's response, I will never forget it. His response was, I would be honored to do that with you. And you know what? That kind of enthusiasm was all I needed. I decided this was the hardtail kit for me. Now, having said that, then I learned a little bit more. Where other companies offer the 20 mil
Axle.
Yeah, they don't even offer you the axle.
No.
It's set up for a 20 mil axle. So I thought, well, I did some research, and the option to that is to go with a 3/4 axle, which is Harley-Davidson. That gives you a lot more choice of wheels, a lot of different things. It's good, but it also leads to problems with things like the sprocket, which Sean's going to tell you all about, stuff like that. So I reached out and said, hey, Sean, do you make your kit with a 3/4 inch axle? And he said, yeah, I sure do. And I even make the sprocket that has the correct Harley bolt pattern for the wheel and is the right size for the Yamaha. And he explained to me the other things he does. And of course, his hardtail kit comes with axle and adjusters. Others do not. Bottom line is, when I compared the price, did the exchange and everything else, compared the price on Sean's kit to the least expensive kit I could find, the difference was about $70 Canadian. I think this setup is worth the extra 70 bucks. And when I did that, I compared if I bought the axle with the other one and everything. So I did a apples and apples comparison just to be sure. And yes, this one is a little bit more money. I think it's going to be worth that little bit more money, and I'm going to let Sean tell us about that. Right. But that's how I wound up in Halifax this morning to pick this thing up. So Sean, tell us about your kit and what makes it special, please.
Okay, so this is our Yamaha XS 650 weld-on hardtail kit for 74 to 1984. It's all made from 1 1/8 DOM tubing by 120 wall, and the 1 1/8 diameter is the same as the stock dimensions on the XS 650 frame. Comes with a crossover tube on the top and bottom. That's all the same material. It's fully TIG welded in a fixture and then test fit to an existing Yamaha frame. We have a crossover plate here. This design, I don't have the slug, but what it allows you to do is you can actually fit a piece of 1.5 inch OD diameter tubing, which just kind of makes the center tube that comes down that you're going to cut on your stock frame look a little more continuous instead of having just a 1 inch coped slug that slides up the top. So it just kind of gives it a little more finished look. Like Bruce said, they do come with axle adjusters, spacers, and your axle slide bolts and lockdown nuts. They're coped at the top. Our kit also, I don't believe I wrapped this up, Bruce, but so it comes with a top mount plate that when you get your kit fixtured up and welded to your frame, that this just acts as a finishing piece for it. Good place to mount a seat and stuff like that.
Nice.
It just adds a little more of a finished look, and it adds a little bit more strength. It's a triangle, right? So anybody that fabricates knows how strong triangles are. But yeah, it comes with 3/8 thick axle plates. They come with a 3/8 hole to mount your struts to your fender. And like Bruce said, this one, he opted for the 3/4 inch axle. Now the other kit, if you order a 20 mil, it just comes with, obviously you don't need the sprocket and stuff like that. But these are our blanks, I'll show you that. But this is your 32 tooth blank. This will bolt up to this one won't, it's got to get finished machining, but it'll bolt up to like an 89 to 99 rear rim for a Harley, and there's an insert that we put in there. So there's two kind of sizes of like the sprocket. It's called like the step on the sprocket, and I forget what they are. One's almost 2 1/4 and one is like almost 2. So ours, if you put the one you need, like on the wet, like if you say I need I think one is like 1.97, so it's almost 2 inches, right? But we can machine it to fit, like if you already have your wheel picked and you say I need this one to fit that. If not, they're just going to come with the diameter that fits that style hub, right? Like on there. And right. I'm pointing at a rim right now, you can't see it, but If you opt to it and you say you need more, the 2-inch diameter, it's less than 2 inches. I forget what it is, but I can machine that right spot on for you, so it'll fit your rim or your hub. And that's basically it. Comes with 2 solid slugs. These stick out about 1.5 inches. They're rosette welded underneath here for strength. That should slip right into your existing frame. One thing I'm going to mention is on a Yamaha frame, I think they use like ERW tubing. So ERW, this is DOM, so it's very precise, like it's got no lip on the inside, where ERW will kind of have that. Do you ever cut a piece of tube in half and you see that seam joint that's polished on the outside?
Yep.
So that can kind of wreak havoc when you go to fit your stubs in. So I recommend they, forget what they're called, but a little die grinder, and just kind of clean that out so everything kind of fits up good. And you're going to drill 2 holes, zap that, weld around that really good. Don't mess with the welds too much, because your outer part of your weld is your structural part of your weld,
Right.
Unless you're really good at, I never like grinding down welds, man. It always, it's just something I was taught a long time ago, right? Unless you're doing pipe fitting or something like that, and you got a big bevel that's probably like 1 inch, then you're filling that groove. These are all chamfered, so then when you do fit it up, there's a good gap there, so you can get good penetration of the tubing and everything that's in there, and there's a gap that you're actually filling, you know what I mean? So you're getting material, you're getting that filler rod stuffed in there, whether you're using MIG, TIG, whatever you want to use. So yeah, that pretty much sums up the kit. It comes with the jam nuts and everything on there. It's a complete kit. It's as complete as I can make it, so I tried to think of every little thing, and sometimes over time we may add like a electrics box or something like that. You know what I mean? Like
well, there's always
options,
tabs and
battery trays,
all
stuff
kinds
like
of
that.
stuff
Because we do a lot of that stuff for Sportster hardtail kits. And a lot of that stuff can transition over to this type of application as well, right? So, yeah.
Now, did you want to show me something actually over on your jig here?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I just wanted to show you just for the benefit of you seeing it, but I mean, I'm gonna show you how this not bolts up, but how it fits up, right?
Okay.
You can videotape it or not, but I just wanted you to see it yourself, just so you know what you're.
Yeah, well, I'd like everybody to see it, because I think it's good information. So I'll move the camera again.
Do you want me to? All right. So you're going to, cut your frame, deburr it. This one's already deburred. Now I'm probably going to struggle a little bit.
Do you have a measurement for where the frame gets cut?
I'm gonna show it to you.
Cool.
So, anyways, we're gonna slide this guy. I'm trying to do it on the jig. I need a hammer, but anyways, that's how it all fits up. You're gonna pound that down. This is gonna spread open, right?
Right.
These are going to line up to here. I'm not going to do it right now because I'm not pounding it back in, right? Because I got to get this over the inch and a half.
I see this. Here's another question for you.
You do have to remove that.
Do have to remove the plates. Okay.
Yeah. And just be really careful when you're doing it that you don't dig in or mar this part of the tube, right? So this one, I remove them just so this would all fit up good and straight, right?
Sean, because of the way I weld, I am very good with a grinder.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, that's it. So you'd have your frame, you've got a source, or what is it, the fixture? Do you have a?
Chop source.
Chop source, another good product. So you'll have that loaded into here, and you're just going to pound this in. This here is going to, I'll give you this measurement before you leave, so you know exactly where to cut, and I recommend cutting a little bit further back.
Always.
Take it out, finesse, take it out, fit it. Was that you or me?
It's okay.
Okay. And then till you get it just right. So this here, like that 1.5 tube, that's going to slide right up through there and go in there. Once you have that lined up, and it's okay to have a bit of a gap there, because if you fill it with like filler rod or MIG wire, that's all the better, because then you know you got good penetration.
Right.
Just keep in mind too, like a lot of stuff that gets overlooked is this is 120 wall, and this tubing on the chassis is a little bit thinner. So just keep that in mind when you're welding too. Maybe best to TIG weld it, because you have a little bit more control over the arc and the amperage and stuff like that. Like you can back it off and gas it if you have to.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's it. And you'll push this up, fit it a couple of times, and then when your 1.5 tubes by 1 inch tubes fits up through here, you're done.
Good.
And then just tack it into place. Then the heavy lifting, put your motor in while it's tacked. So if you fully weld it, then you're SOL if you welded it. And just make sure that everything is nice and straight this way. You have the chop source fixture, so you'll be fine. But a lot of guys, you don't know. See, I have OCD bad, so if it's just not like, you want to make sure that your tail end is straight, right? There's no sense in having your frame like that and then your hardtail on like that. So don't eyeball. If you have a fixture like this, which I know a lot of people don't, but you still have your fixture for the chop source thing, and you can load these axle plates in and adjust that, and you can move that forward with it, then you're guaranteed a great install,
That's exactly.
And that's
the way.
basic.
Mine, the chop source, let's be honest, and I don't think chop source will mind. No. It ain't this. Okay.
Well, this is.
But I think it'll do pretty well compared to doing it on the floor or something. Yeah. So couple questions I had for you. The frame that I'm starting with already had these removed.
That's okay.
So I need a measurement. I know some instructions measure from this tab.
Yeah.
Maybe if we can measure from the bolt or something.
I'll give you that.
The other thing is, I bought up, there was a shop going out of business. I wound up buying 4 engines.
Yamaha?
Yeah.
Like all together?
Yeah, 4 complete engines, other than carbs and exhaust, right? So one of them only has 7 studs. It doesn't have the 8th stud.
On the top?
Oh, and that go through the jugs and through the head.
Yeah.
They're just about impossible to find. They're awful. So I thought, what if I strip everything out of that engine, all the gears, the crank, make it as light as I can, put all the cases together and use it as my jig. Is that a good idea?
Awesome idea.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. You didn't embarrass me.
No, that's a really, really good idea, because then you could put your neck into the chop source frame jig.
Yep.
You could have your engine in your front portion of your chassis that you're gonna keep. And mind you, when you're making this cut, make it as close as possible. You want to leave a gap. Like if you come over here, just put your finger here against that bracket. So that would be kind of hard to weld, right? Because this bracket is almost flush with that.
Right.
But for us building the hardtails, it's not an issue. But if you want to leave a little bit of meat there, so when you go to weld it, you have something to weld it to. And then your engine's going to be in, and then you're just going to tap this thing into place until she's...
I thought the engine would work pretty well, and then I'll use the Hughes mounts that I'm using with it and everything.
Absolutely. So anytime we build a Sportster hardtail too, like that Sportster that's over there in the corner, that's all empty. So I can lift that engine up, and I can go, I want to know, because sometimes people ask for tight tolerances, and you just got to make sure that everything fits. So then you can get your tubes in place, because we build a Sportster Softail frame too that we build for people, that people can run an 83 to 2003 Evolution Sportster, and it's the same as it's almost the exact same.
I've seen it.
Yeah, we built a couple of those for people. Cool. Actually, one guy in Nova Scotia is building a bike with one right now. But yeah, your motor's a great fixture.
The reason I thought of this, and I don't know if you've ever had this happen or noticed it, but when I cut this off, this moved, and I thought, ooh, that's a bad thing.
So you're going to have to, like any hardtail, like you hardtailed your Sporty, right?
Yep.
There's a little bit of jigging around and like but when these chassis are built, sometimes they're under pressure, which means that they're in a fixture and there's this bend, like maybe they're pushing this tube into the fixture, right?
Yes.
So they're slightly pushing it. So sometimes when you cut a frame, it kind of springs apart and stuff like that. Not to worry, like just do the best you can. That's why it's always good, because I get asked, do I need a fixture to do this? And my answer to that always as a fabricator is going to be yes. If it's just a small, easy fixture that you can build, like even on a piece of sheet metal, like a piece of 1/8 plate, just to keep everything where it should be before you cut it, it's going to be yes. Now, there's a lot of people out there that will say that you don't. It contradicts that, but for the fabricator and me, at least when you cut it, it's going right back into the same place it was before, right. Because a lot of these bends will put pressure on them. So even when we're building a frame, there's zero pressure on anything, but soon as when you start welding, it's trying to move the metal. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So your metal's always going to move. So you're trying to keep distortion down to a minimum, right? Yeah. You'll never, I don't care who you are, you'll never eliminate it. It's just a fact of life. Heat is going to change the molecular structure of the steel. It's going to want to move. Yeah. So you're trying to keep it to a minimum, and you're trying to keep it cool. So when you weld this into place and you get everything where you want it and it's fitting good and you're looking at it, even I don't have it, but even those little lasers just from like Home Depot or like those are good to have just to run up your, up the back and stuff like that.
And they're cheap.
Oh yeah, you can get them for like 10, 15 bucks. And then just let it cool to the ambient. So when I'm building a frame in this fixture, say I'm building a Sportster frame for somebody and I'm done welding at the end of the day, I won't take it out till the next morning. And then 80% of the welding takes place on this fixture here we're looking at. Right. And the weld I can't get at, when it gets unbolted, when it's cooled to the ambient, it goes over to the modular table, gets bolted down, and then the rest of the welding gets done. Just because even though 80% of it's welded up, it doesn't really shift after that, but it's just good precautionary measure. I don't know.
It's amazing how stuff can move.
I know. Yeah. And then you go, well, it fit before, now it's not fitting or something like that, especially when you're adding heat and welding and stuff like that. And a lot of people, kids and stuff like that are doing this and getting into the, they don't know, maybe a heat setting's too high, really, even if you just buzz tack a piece of 16 gauge, it's 16 gauge is quite thick. It's going to want to lift up. Yeah. But you just try to keep it to a minimum, and then that's that. And hopefully, you got to give this a good smack with a rubber mallet, right, to get it over it over that. But everything.
I love that we're getting rid of these pieces. Yeah. You made me very happy today.
Yeah. So that's basically it in a nutshell. But.
That, and I've cut all of this off.
Oh, did you?
And I'm going to do 2 little studs coming down. Yeah.
To the motor mount?
Yeah.
Yeah. We did custom motor mounts. We built an full XS 650 frame for a customer in New York, and did all custom mounts and everything. We did a single, it was to his spec, so we did a kind of like a gooseneck like that. And it worked out really well, but we ended up, this was blank, and we just did like a custom. I said, some guys build their own. I'll put the tab there so you have something to lock into, because really you should be, every point of contact. The more points of contact, the better for smoother riding.
A lot of guys eliminate that top motor mount.
Do they?
Yeah. Jeff at Perth County, his doesn't have it.
And it doesn't.
And he did a lot of research, and he said there's a lot of guys who cut it off.
Same with Sportster. When you're doing, like when we build a Sportster softtail frame, that motor that's on the front, the mount that's on the front cylinder?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't put that in. And I put it in, just if they don't use it, just cut it off or whatever. But I know that it left the shop with that on it, right? Because I mean, you'd think the more points of contact you have it locked down, you'd think that, you know, the more rigid and the better it's going to.
Well, and again, we tend to think that things are really solid, really firm and everything, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, Brent at PFX said to me, okay, so leave that top motor mount out of your Sportster.
Yeah.
How much can things flex, you know, the jugs and everything? Like, you don't think it can, but when you measure it, holy crap.
And put into the equation heat, you know, and all and heat cycles, heating, cooling, heating and cooling. I even seen a Sportster frame, a full Sportster build without that, without this top motor mount.
Right.
I mean, if it's there, you know, it should be there when you go. Like this one, okay, you could probably get away without it, but and the back is so stout on those Sporties, like the back motor mount.
Right.
And then you've got this; it's pretty locked into place. But for me, like, I just put it all back, just the way it was, or build the frame. If we're building a frame for someone, just give them. There's all the option, because when we build something, like if I send a frame out, they're getting like the frame, bearings, dust shields, brackets, motor mount. They get everything with it. And a lot of times you're just going to go and get the frame, and then you're going to have to get an XL motor mount or a Yamaha motor mount or whatever. I like to know that everything's complete, and I like to know that the customer's using the thing that I fit up, because as crazy as it sounds, everything gets fit up. So when I build a Sportster frame, that engine goes in it, that motor mount goes on, that front motor mount goes on, and I go, okay, I know this fits, same as what we're looking at here, I know this fits. So when it's just peace of mind. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, it's just for the sake of 10 minutes of work, it's just peace of mind.
I just haven't figured out up here yet if I'm going to do like one contact point to both bolts, or whether I'll do two separate. I don't know which
Well,
you're
going to be two on your motor, right? So I mean, one contact point, that's a triangle.
Contacting this, right?
Yeah, you could
so
have
you
one
could
hole.
go from the two bolts to one spot, or you could just go with two supports.
Yeah, you could do that too.
I think probably I'm going to make something up, tack it in place, look at it, and see which I like.
I think it'd be stronger with the two and the two, right? Or the one and the two, as having to then two, because if it's an eyelet to eyelet, then you have that, you know, that rocking kind of. Not saying it's going to rock, but a triangle would always be the way that I would go. Because then once you're fixtured to your engine, and then you put that bolt in there, there's nowhere for that to ever move. You know what I mean? If it's a one piece. Cool. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to take this down now, Bruce.
Okay.
We're going to try to figure out how we're going to wrap this up for you.